Hello and welcome back to the Brit Iron podcast. Today is episode 18 in our season preview, and it is our 15th ranked team today, the Dallas Cowboys, who we've got ranked at 9-7 for their record. And of course today, joined by my very good friends, Matt and Sam.
Bit of a tongue twister, that one, was it?
Oh, mate, that took us way too many attempts to get that one in, but
we got
the main
there
thing
in the
is
end.
we got there in the end.
That's what matters. That's what matters.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, the first talking point which I would like to raise is around Dak Prescott. Now, as of recording, he hasn't signed a long-term contract and will play 2020 under the tag unless he signs the next 24 hours.
Clock is ticking.
What do we make of that news?
Not shocked, I think. Especially with the Pat Mahomes deal coming out a little bit earlier. I think that's probably the nightmare for any team currently in any form of conversation with your quarterback. Because although Dak can't expect to get Pat Mahomes money, it's another massive inflation on it in terms of just the kind of terms of the deal and the way it works. So it's just another thing where for Dak to be like, I want my money.
Maybe. I think the issue that, from all of my understanding of what's going on in Dallas with this contract, the issue isn't a money-based issue. It's more of a contract length issue in the sense that Jerry Jones actually wants to lock Dak up for a minimum of 5 years, whereas Dak Prescott wants a 4-year contract because he knows he wants to then be able to hit the market again as quickly as possible to kind of reset his value and get the next biggest thing. And I think Dak's relatively aware. He knows he's not going to get that kind of money. He's not that good, and he's aware of that. Like, nobody else in the league is Patrick Mahomes. Like, I don't think everyone knew Patrick Mahomes was going to get that massive contract, but I think even then it was still a bit of a shock to everyone, the kind of, oh, by the way, 10 years, $500 million. Like, that was still just completely record setting. So I don't really think a lot of these next quarterback contracts will be in that bracket. I think the interesting thing will be if they can come to an agreement, maybe not this year, but the year after, over that 4 to 5 year range. Because I actually think that what Dak's doing is quite smart. He knows that if in a year he hits, they can't franchise tag him again, because if they franchise tag him again, he would be getting paid probably $45 million a year because of the way the franchise tag works. He'd be getting paid silly money. So for him, it's right, hit the free market next year and be the either second highest paid or highest paid annually over a 5-year span, or lock up a 4-year deal where you're 30 to 35 million and then you'll get to hit the market again in 4 or 5 years when maybe you've won something. So I can understand where both sides are coming from. I would like to see that they get it locked up because I think Dak is probably one of the better quarterbacks in the league for this team. He kind of epitomizes what you want from a Dallas Cowboy. Like, he's for a team that's in the media the entire time. He doesn't put a foot wrong. He doesn't come out and make interesting Twitter decisions, Deshaun Jackson or Malcolm Jenkins-esque. He's not doing things that everyone's going, whoa, he is like the perfect quarterback from the media standpoint, in the same way someone like Eli Manning was. Yeah. And actually, he's coming off his best season yet. So, yeah, pay him. And from Jerry Jones' standpoint, they can wait. $31 million on the franchise tag. Dak can't complain at that. That's still in the top 5 or 6 in the league this year. And he'll get paid somewhere next year. So I think even if they don't get it signed, it's not the end of the world. He'll have another good year with a good team. I think a lot of people need to just put the brakes on. It's not a big issue at the moment.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. I think if anything, it's for Dak hitting a ceiling and kind of getting better again this year. You can't have better motivation than sort of, if you show you are as good as you want to be, you can kind of get to the point of saying, look, I'm signing this under my own terms, or I'm walking. And he needs to come out and play well enough to deserve that, and I think he will. I think as well, because if you look at what's around him, this Cowboys offense, I love it for this year.
That receiving core is something I'm very excited about.
Could be lethal. That receiving core could be incredible.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe we should just touch on the receiving core then.
Yeah.
As we're here, we're looking, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, Ventil Bryant, John Vay Johnson. Wow, I got there in the end. And of course, C.D. Lamb.
Yeah.
I mean, that is
a lot of
stacked
people
for
are
me.
calling him the steal of the draft.
Potentially, yeah.
Can't. I know I touched on it a couple episodes ago, but how he went so far behind Henry Ruggs, I just do.
Oh
not
my god,
understand.
Henry Ruggs returns.
Here we go.
Oh god, this is like peril all over again.
No, we're not bringing up
Glad it's not
Henry. We're on the Cowboys today. I think CeeDee Lamb probably he might take a while to kind of really show his quality, just because he is in a stacked offense. But that is a great pickup for them. I think we alluded to it in an episode a day or two ago when we were talking about a running back, weren't we? Cam Akers, and I kind of brought up Michael Gallup, and Matt mentioned in that episode how you might see Michael Gallup kind of fall off towards the end of the year as CeeDee Lamb works his way into the offense, and I think that's a brilliant position that the Cowboys are in, because they've got multiple guys that can kind of work around each other, and you don't expect CeeDee Lamb to come in and be a massive contributor day one. He's got the time to work into the offense, and he's got a quarterback, he's got a good offensive line, he's got the star running back. Offensively, they've got everything. Lost a couple pieces on the defense, which was always going to happen considering some of the contracts they've been doling out, but this is a team that have got a real upside, and in my opinion, are in a division that is open for the taking. Like, anyone could win that division, in my opinion. And they are probably the front runner for me. I know I'm a bit higher on the Cowboys than I know Matt. Matt is a bit of an Eagles fanboy at the moment, but
I wouldn't go that far. I like them. I don't know if it's fanboy, but anyway, this is the Cowboys episode, so I'll save my reasonings.
That one will be a tasty one.
I think for me as well,
tasty
where we touched on Gallup, I think fall off, just to go with the wording, is a little bit drastic. I think he will have this year. It was looking like it could be a massive breakout for me. I think it was like he was going to take another step. I think that just puts a little bit of a hold on that. Not a massive breakout, but I just think I could see him maintaining last year, maybe slightly lower towards the end if CeeDee Lamb really does come out. But I think for Gallup, he's still going to be productive. I think he's still going to be a very relevant part of the offense. But I think it is going to be, you'll see it, he'll be better at the start than the end of the year. It's sort of the other way of that. I don't think he won't fall off as such, because that makes it sound like he's just going to kind of disappear out of it. But I think another piece, sort of in terms of a guy that's going to be catching the ball, is Blake Jarwin. I think I'm really hot on him for this year. I think, although there's young, he's sort of seen a bit of playing time when there was a bit where Whittam was out injured. I think he's had a few more years since then to develop. And I think now he hasn't got kind of the Whittam there, sort of still within the room. I mean, this is a job now that for him, this is his to lose entirely, I think. And I really think he's going to come out and fit that offense well and almost carry the Whittam sort of role. Maybe not to quite the same level, because obviously there's the three wide receivers that are all going to want a share of that. But I think for me, he's going to come out and do a job and be a very, very serviceable tight end and be quite important for Dak, especially getting down towards the red zone.
Whereabouts, and maybe this would be more the fantasy side of things, but maybe we should touch on it now. Whereabouts would you look to draft him, or is he purely a streaming option at this point?
For me, if I've left it late, it's a guy I would draft. But he's sort of down, is going to be later on. It's a guy you can pick up probably after the 10th, late on. You're kind of looking around potentially. You've got Mike Gesicki for the Dolphins, the guy we've mentioned before, who could have a breakout. He's in that kind of category. You don't definitely know what you're getting because they haven't necessarily proven it yet, but the ceiling's there. And they are what looks like is going to be the lead tight end on their offenses. So I think, anything after the 10th for me, if I need a tight end and it fits in, is where I'd be happy to take him. I mean, I've got him in our dynasty, and currently, as my plans stand, he's probably going to be the guy I'm putting out there week one, unless I see anything from any one of OJ Howard, Will Disley, or sort of Gerald Everett that makes me think otherwise. But that's kind of where I'm thinking. If you talk about him in relation to those four names, currently I prefer him for week one.
It will be really interesting to see how that ball's distributed in the offense, because now you've got one of the better receiver cores in the league, where just a couple of years ago they had effectively no one there, and in the space of 2 years they've gone from having literally no big names since like there was a year after they lost Des Bryant where there was just nothing at wide receiver, and then suddenly you've got Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, and then a bunch of other guys who are competent at catching the ball. And then you've also got Zeke, who is kind of, in the last year or two, he's started to show that he can catch out the backfield. And when he has caught out the backfield, he's been incredibly productive with those catches. So it'll be interesting to see now that you've got CeeDee Lamb coming in and Zeke starting to step up, how many of those kind of targets then take away from the tight end position. I would be kind of standoffish, but like Matt said, this is a tight end who has got all of the upside in the world, and realistically with 90% of tight ends, unless you're taking one of the top 2 or 3 guys, you're effectively going for someone who's got opportunity and upside, which Blake Jarwin's got, so why not have a pop?
I think for me, just talking about this as an offense as a whole, you sort of touch on all the different weapons there. I would not want to be a defensive coordinator coming up against them this year, because where do you start? You look down that list, go, all right, so we'll put some guys, but then that's leaving this, and then this is just, I think it's going to be really exciting to watch. And necessarily, it could affect things in fantasy where you sometimes get where there's so many weapons on an offense, you struggle for an even share or to predict where the share's going week to week. But in just a general football sense, this could be an offense that if everything clicks, just lights the league up this year. This could kind of be that year where you sort of, I feel like it's always sort of, maybe not a few years ago, but quite consistently throughout the NFL, it's the Cowboys are thereabouts. Like, are they going to actually kind of string some in here? I still think they've got to carry the defense along, but I think this offense could, if it plays to its ceiling, it really could.
No, I definitely agree with that. And just touch on the schedule as well. There's a lot of coin flip games for me, which could really swing the way I see them. I know we had them at, 9 and 7. I mentioned at the top of the episode. That could easily go up and up just based on that schedule and those sort of coin flip games like I mentioned. So I'm really excited to see.
I was just about to bring up the schedule actually. Looking at it from more of a fantasy perspective, they play a number of teams that have got very poor defenses. I mean, you're playing the Giants twice. Whether they win or lose those games, I know I'm quite relatively high on the Giants. I think that could be a very good offense. So I think they could be very high-scoring games, and the Giants' defense is not a good defense. Yeah. They could easily score 30 points on the Giants twice in a year. They also play Cincinnati, which is a team you can score on. They also play the Falcons, is a team you can score on. They play the Cardinals, is going to be a team you can score on. They play the Seahawks, the Seahawks look like they've got a defense that is really improving and could be quite a good defense, but at the same time, we're only a year and a bit removed from them having one of the worst defenses in the league. Yeah. So it wouldn't be surprising if the Seahawks defense was an average defense and they aren't that great. The Washington Redskins, whilst they've got a mean
Washington to be determined at this point.
Washington TBC. But the Washington team, short of a very mean defensive front, their secondary isn't anything special. That is again a team that could be very easy to score points on. Yes, they have to play the Steelers. Yes, they have to play the Vikings and the Ravens and the Niners. But other than that, all of the other games they play could be very high scoring and against defenses that are a bit leaky. So there could be a lot of fantasy points in 4 or 5 of the guys on that offense.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I mean, I'm definitely open for, because I've got Zeke, Gallup and Jarwin, so I've ended up with a little bit of a stack.
I've got Dak, so...
we'll both be eating on the same week, then, mate.
A big year. But just before we officially move on to the fantasy side of things, there is one name I would like to mention, and that's actually the backup quarterback, or it should be the backup quarterback, Andy Dalton. Now, is this Andy Dalton? Is he just going to be a backup for the rest of his career? Is this him now? You know, is he going to look to push on perhaps elsewhere, or
I think he could be a less exciting Fitzmagic. Like one that isn't necessarily going to come in and have the just collapses that Fitzmagic has, but maybe not as well the lights out games. He's just kind of going to be a bit of a... If there's any kind of question around your starter, he could start to become the guy that you bring into the room. Like with Dak, there is no guarantee who knows. If he goes down, this team in terms of the offense with the weapons we said, there's a slight window forming. But with Dak as well, who knows what happens with all different parts of this contract, different things going on this season as a whole being as uncertain as it is. He could hold out, who knows, he could get ill or have to miss games through isolation periods. Like, there's so many what ifs. I think this is a great decision by them. I think he is the backup. I don't think he's competing for anything. I think he's just there as a cover so that this doesn't become a season where suddenly you go from a Cowboys team that you're like, this could be a legitimate team that if it all clicks and they hit their ceiling or in the playoffs, and looking exciting to, oh,
Yeah.
they've got all these weapons and it's not really getting to him because who's throwing it.
I think there might even be a somewhat underhand motive to this signing.
Yeah.
In the sense that this is, in my opinion anyway, this is a leverage signing. This is a business deal. You're not signing him necessarily to even play. It's the sense that for a long time in the league, everyone kind of referred to Andy Dalton as... A lot of people referred... There was the Andy Dalton line. Anyone who was better than an Andy Dalton at quarterback, you'd pay. Anyone who was below Andy Dalton, you wouldn't. Because Andy Dalton was the definite, like, slap bang average. You can win a lot of games with him if you've got a good roster and you're good everywhere else on the field. But he's not good enough that he's going to push you over the hump. He is not the piece that you need to win a championship.
Yeah.
Yes, it's great that he's there, and if Dak goes down, he can come in, and realistically, if Dak goes down and Andy Dalton comes in, you're probably not adjusting your overall rating for the team that much. You might take a win or two away, but for me, I think this is Jerry Jones trying to gain leverage on Dak Prescott from a signing perspective, basically saying, look, this is the best time in the history of the NFL for quarterbacks. Like, more and more you're seeing first-round quarterbacks come into the league that are hits rather than busts. I mean, over the last couple of years, it seems to be every year there's a sophomore guy who comes out and wins MVP and is insane. And there's a lot of capable quarterbacks in the league now, to the point that you've got Andy Dalton as a backup when he's still a very capable quarterback. So I think this is Jerry Jones basically kind of saying, yeah, you want $40 million a year? We got Andy Dalton in the wings who's willing to do it for 10. Are you really 4 times better than him?
Yeah. Jerry playing the game out.
Yeah, playing the game.
Wise.
And yeah, it is wise. And at the end of the day, I think they will sign Dak. And if Dak does decide to move on for whatever reason, and they can't get him locked down, and Dak thinks there's greener pastures somewhere else, Andy Dalton's a very good guy to have sat behind him, because if you need a bridge year to get to another quarterback, or you think Dalton you can win with, because like Matt said, you've got a window, why not? Dalton's put up 11 and 5 years and made the playoffs before. With that roster, yet there are worse quarterbacks that have won a lot more games. There are worse quarterbacks that have gone to Super Bowls. I mean, I think Trent Dilfer won one with the Ravens, didn't he? Like,
oh yeah.
Much worse quarterbacks who've got much worse resumes have done better things. So I think it's a very shrewd move by the Cowboys to get him.
Yeah, he certainly seems to be one of the better backups in the league, should I say. Okay then, moving back onto the fancy things, and the wide receiver room, which we have touched on, but dialing down to the main pieces there, the Amari Coopers, the Michael Gallups. Whereabouts are we looking to take them? And are we taking them at a point where it's average to take them, or are we not as high on them as that, if that makes sense?
So I think for me, they're sort of, from mock, seems to be this sort of redraft 12-team format, half PPR. It's a pretty sort of standard fantasy league. It almost seems to be the order currently is obviously Amari Cooper, and I've seen him sometimes in a second if you've got someone doing like double early wide receivers or going one-on-one running back wide receiver. And I think if he plays at the level he can and Dak does, I think that's a very fine place to take him. I'd be happy taking him in the second if I wanted a wide receiver in the second. And that was where I was falling if I was towards sort of the more back end of the second. Not saying go out and take him with the 201 unless you really want him. But then you've got kind of Gallup, who I think has been more consistent going as the second guy just because you've seen him in the league. You know what you're getting from him.
Good year last year.
Good, yeah, coming off a good year. And the only reason, I guess, is it's easy to make the assumption that because they've drafted CeeDee Lamb, Gallup goes down. CeeDee Lamb's got to take it from him. It's not like Gallup's just kind of been sitting there taking a spot, waiting to be... He's playing for it, and he's been playing well. And I think for me, anywhere, see him go sort of fifth onwards, he's been going. It always depends on who's in your draft, but fifth, sixth, that sort of range, happily take him there. And then CeeDee Lamb, he's that kind of guy that could have tremendous upside because he's going to be going a bit later. And I think, again, with him, it's a bit of an uncertainty. There's a slight gamble, especially with the weird off-season, and it's going to be harder for him to adjust into the league. But I've seen him going anywhere from the 7th to the 9th, depending on what you're drafting in and sort of how people are drafting. And I think if you really want him and you want a piece of this offense, and the other two have already gone in the 7th final, I think for me, I'd try and wait till the 8th. But that's purely just because if I'm choosing between out of the 2 and 3 in this offense, I'm going a bit earlier for Gallup.
Yeah. I mean, out of the receivers from this team, I'm happy taking Gallup and Amari Cooper basically around their ADP. I think Gallup is that guy who once Julio and Michael Thomas and DeAndre Hopkins are off the board, he's then in that conversation of the next tier of receiver, and I'm happy taking him there. I won't do my usual thing where I say, yeah, he's going in the 2nd, take him in the 5th. But if I was that way inclined that I needed a receiver in the 2nd and all of those 3 that I just mentioned were gone, then Amari Cooper's probably the next guy up for me. So I would take him there. Personally, I don't tend to take a receiver in the 2nd round, but if you wanted a receiver in the 2nd round or you're on the turn or something, then yes, take him there. Same with Gallup. If he's there in the 5th, you take him in the 5th. Like, I'm happy where he is at his draft, his ADP. I think you get the payoff there. My issue comes with CeeDee Lamb. I think you see this a lot with hyped up rookies.
Yep.
That people will take a hyped up rookie way before they should go because they go, oh my god, like they see he's so fast and he's such a smooth route runner and stuff. It's like, yeah, but you haven't seen him do it at the next level. And it's very, very rare that someone comes in and as a wide receiver, especially as a rookie, and puts up those kind of numbers that would make it worthwhile of drafting him. Obviously, if you took DK Metcalf last year in the 8th round or the 9th round of your draft, you're probably really happy because you get a 900-yard receiver who's a bunch of touchdowns. That's a great pick. But conversely, a number of years back, if you take Corey Coleman in the 8th or 9th round, you're not happy because you're getting nothing back. Many years back, you take Perriman in the 10th round, you're getting nothing out of him.
You had to say the name.
Yeah, it is fucked.
You're going to set him off now.
God.
My point is, with receivers, it's a successful season for a rookie receiver doesn't translate to a successful fantasy season.
Yeah, 100%.
If CeeDee Lamb comes out and has 700 yards and 4 touchdowns in that offense, but his routes look buttery smooth, and he's getting great separation, and he's the first guy in training and the last guy out, and he's doing all of the other things, and he gets on well with the team, then that is a great rookie season.
Yeah.
But for fantasy, if you're drafting him in the 7th round, you might look at that and go, he let me down.
Yeah, I think
so
there's definitely better
just
value.
be wary on overvaluing a
7.
rookie, and be very aware of the fact that what a rookie considers a good season is going to be very different to what you as a fantasy owner would consider a good season.
I think as well, if you are taking him, you're looking more for him becoming relevant when you get into the thick end of the season. And I think you're more taking him this year as a guy that could tip you over the edge in the playoffs, that you're hoping to have a roster around that is strong enough for maybe even up to the sort of week 8, where he's going to play himself in, and then he's going to come more at the back half of the season. Maybe that's when you start to get a bit more value from him, but still, I'd say it's more going to be I could see him being one of those guys, a bit of a boom or bust flex pick for this year. That he will have. I could see him having a couple weeks where he comes out and he wins people matchups, and then people throw him in the next week, and hang on, why haven't I won again?
I think no matter what happens, he's going to be one of these guys who's going to be involved in a lot of trades this year. Because he'll either start to go really well and people will peak and try and get him on the up and they'll overpay for him, or he'll have a very disappointing year and come December you've got people in Dynasty trying to trade him away and you'll be able to get him really cheap. So especially in Dynasty, if he's looking like he's having a down year, you might be able to pick him up pretty cheap.
Yeah. Sell him on a high, buy him on a low, innit? I guess that's the
exactly.
That is the concept. Okay, what about the running back room? Now, obviously, Zeke goes without question.
Yep.
But Tony Pollard, is there any value there at all?
Yes, I think.
In drafting?
I think not necessarily as a draft. He has been in pretty much every mock I've been doing. I've seen him being taken, like really back end, sort of 11th, 12th round. And I think there has been rumours and things coming out of they're looking to maybe give him a bit of passing work and this offense and bits like that. But we've already said it's such a stacked offense for that.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
So what I'm more looking at, and I've done this in our Dynasty, and I think if I was taking Zeke, I'd look to do it in redraft as well. Is Zeke, if it's a bell cow, he can have 300, 350 pitch rushes. He's going to be involved in the passing game. There's a lot of time where he's out there that he could get hurt. And as well, it's another one of those seasons where, I mean, there's already been things he came out. He had COVID. We don't know if it means he can catch it again or not. If he does, it's great. I think this year's a great year to have handcuffs. There's going to be people missing games, and they don't even have to catch it. It could just be someone around them, and then 2 weeks, they're gone. So I think for me, if I'm taking Zeke, I'm picking up Pollard, and sometimes even if I need a little bit of an extra running back depth, and I'm at the 12th round, I don't know if there's many other ones you'd be picking up to potentially get the same value out of. So I really like Pollard. I think he's definitely got a place sort of to play in this.
I completely agree with Matt. I think the only two scenarios in which I would draft Pollard is if I've got hold of Zeke and I'm right at the back end of the draft and Pollard's there and I've got no other pressing needs, then I'll pick him up as a handcuff. The other position is if I don't have Zeke, I'm right at the end of the draft, there's no pressing matters, and I think I want to play a bit of a troll, and I'll pick him up in and hold him for the entire time and basically push a spot away on my bench, and I'm going to go, right, I hope Zeke goes down.
Oh, can't say that.
Jesus.
No,
you
but
can't
like,
wish that on a man.
Jesus.
but you pick him up in the hope that you can flip him for something, like especially in a dynasty. You pick up Pollard, you sit him on your bench, you wait for Zeke to go down. If Zeke goes down, you then turn around to the Zeke owner and go, well, your first round draft pick in next year's rookie draft looks quite nice. Would you like Tony Pollard? Like,
that's why I picked him up. The second, I think, because actually this offseason, me and Sam did the trade. He had Zeke, and now a few other pieces moved around in it. Got him, and the same day that went through, I went to the Pollard owner in our league, and I think it was even my second for this year's draft because I was looking at it and I knew what I wanted in the first and third, so gave a second and got the handcuff just so I was locked in because I knew otherwise I'd be on the wrong side of that, especially with the way our league plays.
But unfortunately, I think the only way that you get any actual value out of this guy is if Zeke goes down, and no one's wishing that on a player.
No, definitely not.
Yes, I think there are going to be questions at the moment around Zeke. He's made some questionable decisions in the last week or two. I think I've seen some interesting clips on Twitter and things of him streaming video games whilst not
we move on.
With it.
There's nothing proven, nothing factual.
Nothing proven. So currently he's fine, but unless he's not on the field, I don't see the need to have Tony Pollard. At which point, if Zeke goes down, which is unlikely, he's quite a consistent guy. He's very durable. But if he goes down, then obviously Pollard's got value in that offense, and there will be a lot of positioning to get hold of him. But I probably wouldn't draft him, really.
Yeah, he's one of those guys, that, especially in a league where you've got sort of like the fab budget. If Zeke goes down, he's a 75 or more fab guy. He's one of those players that will come in and do that. Sort of similar to you'll find if you get like Edmonds on the Cardinals at the position he's in as a backup. There's something like that there. If Dalvin Cook holds out after you've drafted him, you've got that with the Vikings. It's one of those
Madison,
sort of
suddenly the guy.
There's those sort of few guys in the league that you look at and go, potentially you want to save your fab.
Overnight they can go from being worthless to one of the guys to have. So just keep an eye on that and make sure. Definitely.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on this one, Sam. Using him as a trade card definitely seems to be a good option to have.
Yeah, but you use everyone as a trade card.
Well, I mean, who finished above?
You're the kind of guy. You're the kind of guy who take You're the kind of guy who take a second string kicker and ask for Zeke and Alvin Kamara for him.
Hey, you always start high negotiating. Don't ask, don't get. I think
if it's Justin Tucker, I think it's worth it. That's all I'm saying. But on that bombshell, I believe that is all we've got time for this episode. Just for the record, I don't actually believe that. That could really backfire.
I was wondering if you're going to back yourself on that, if you're going to firm it.
No, no way. Stay away from that trade. But yeah, unfortunately, that's all we've got time for today. So as ever, be sure to check us out on YouTube. Go like, comment, and subscribe. Also, head over to Instagram and Twitter. We're at the Brit Iron. Got a lot of content going down on those two channels. And also, we've got a Listen League, which we are setting up. We've got a couple of posts on the Instagram and Twitter I just mentioned, which explains to you how you can be in the chance of being involved with that. Because we're looking to get a draw going at the end of July. So be sure. Yeah, a week's time. Wow. That is exciting.
Yeah, it's snuck up on us. It's
It
Yeah,
has
we,
really
a week,
snuck
2
up on
weeks,
us.
and we'll be putting out the post. We'll be getting that going fully. So yeah, definitely get involved in that.
Yeah. There you
yeah,
go,
see if you can draft better than us. I think there'll definitely be some arguments in our war room over who we're drafting.
Oh, it's gonna. Oh, I can't wait.
It's gonna be a
There'll be an
tasty one.
episode out on that around the time. So keep
I
an
think
eye
there'll
out
be
for
a
that, guys.
full hour podcast, just the recording of Matt and James arguing when Matt wants to draft Perriman in the 10th round and James.
Perriman's got way too much love this episode. That's all I'm saying.
He keeps coming up.
But to wrap it up for now, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.
See ya.